Hello and welcome to Tantrum House Studio Awesome. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Katie. And in this review video, we are going to be talking about what has us discussing Uprising, The Curse of the Last Emperor for days after we have played it. In this review video, we will cover Uprising, The Curse of the Last Emperor, and Uprising Arch Nemesis expansion by Nemesis Games. This game is for 1 to 4 players and takes anywhere from 2 to 4 hours, possibly longer to play.
In this cooperative game, each player will control a faction with asymmetrical abilities that is fighting to take down the legions of the evil empire and the hordes of the undead chaos that are razing the land.
Each faction has its own units the player can purchase with resources each round, along with a choice of 2 asymmetrical heroes that have their own deck of cards that will be adding feats to augment a player's turn.
The game is played over 4 rounds, which is basically boiled down to refresh and events, building armies, players' actions, enemies' actions, production, and then counting points.
So the entire goal of the game is for all of the players to have more points than both of the enemy teams, which is much harder than it sounds. As players explore the hexes, they will flip them up and then it'll spawn enemy units which have their own asymmetrical abilities. These units have to be dealt with in glorious battle. Units will have designated dice that they roll, and there's a wide variety in which each die has on its sides.
Points are given to players as they defeat enemies, for each haven they have out, and possibly from cards or hex tiles. The Chaos and Empire gain points from the factions that they've battled and killed units of, and each horde and legion on the board, along with the cursed hexes and hexes that have garrisons.
So it's important to note here that the Empire and the Chaos are not working together, so they might end up fighting each other during the game, which may or may not be a good thing for the players.
The Uprising Arch Nemesis expansion adds 4 new player factions to the base game, along with some arch nemesis that come out in the final round instead of new hordes or legions.
So this game is a feast for the imagination and for the strategist's mind. The game is going to simultaneously feel frantic and desperate, but also a little bit like a slow threat, like a chess game, kind of. So legions are going to start in the capital, but when they come out, but they're going to be putting down tokens, which are going to be showing where they're going to be moving to. So they're going to be plowing through that way. The hordes start they have a random starting, but then they're going to be roving slowly towards the living and then making their way to the capital. So it feels really crazy and chaotic sometimes, but then you've got things like the garrisons that don't move at all, and then skeletons that might possibly move, but most likely won't. So you've got some fixed units and some that just are moving around the board, and it's chaotic and frantic and, like I said, and then also a little bit like a chess game.
Yeah, I would say the length of the game is pushing it a little bit. It takes a lot of time for each person to resolve their individual turns, and you can just be sitting there. You're not doing anything while they resolve, and you have to constantly reference, okay, how many dice are they rolling now? Okay, I've damaged them, so now they're rolling less dice. Which dice are they rolling now? And it just can be a little tedious. It can take a little bit of time, and it just feels like, there's 4 chapters to this thing. We've been playing for how long? We're still in the first chapter. So it can be a while playing the game. You can, however, choose not to play all 4 chapters. You can. There's recommended rules for 2, 3, or 4. 4 is the desired if you want to do the whole 4x game. But they do say you can play as low as 2. I don't feel like you're going to gain enough momentum to have the possibility of winning at 2. But then the Empire and the Horde won't gain momentum either. So
That's true.
Maybe you will.
It remains to be seen. So just looking at the art and the theme and the components for this game, there is a bunch of lore in this game. There is a bunch of backstory. There's a bunch of flavor text. Several times when we were playing this the first time, I said, surely there's a book series this is based on. And Ryan's like, I don't know, I'm not familiar. I was like, maybe it's a movie, or, and we finally looked it up and we're like, nope, it was all made just for this game. And there is a lot of fun stuff. And I actually think maybe they should write a book.
Well, in the Arch Nemesis expansion, I think it was a stretch goal. They have like a little story. It's several pages long.
Yes, it comes in a little book with the game.
Yeah.
So there is that. The art is imaginative and fun. I wouldn't say it's anything like super crazy, amazing, or anything like that, but definitely adequate. The components are great. I really like the standees. I like that you can pull them apart and put them back together, and they don't take a lot of space in the box. The little miniature buildings, the garrisons, all fit together really nicely to create a taller building as they get more power. The box inserts are very nice. Each faction has its own encapsulated little box inside the game box, and so it's easy to figure out, oh, I want to play with this faction this time. Here's all of its components. They're all well packaged in there. Really nice. Only drawback I'd say is there's cardboard tokens for some of the resources. Like, that's not that bad though. Could be better.
So one of the things that is slightly different about this game, maybe, than other games in the genre, are the fact that there are two enemies that are controlled by the game itself, and those enemies can also be attacking each other. So you might want to, instead of attacking one, let it attack the other one and then attack it in the next chapter once it's been whittled down some. But because they tend to gain threat each chapter, you're really, rolling the dice on that. Are they going to damage each other enough to make it worth it, or are you just going to have two strong people that didn't kill each other? Well, I guess one of them's going to be dead.
One of them's going to come out on top.
Yeah, so it might be worth it.
But they get points for killing the other one off, too.
Yeah.
And it's hard to stay on top of their points.
Yeah. We found it extremely difficult, but maybe we just didn't quite figure out what we were supposed to do with the different factions. We played it 4 different times, have not beaten it. It was brutal every time.
Yeah.
I would recommend playing with the expansion.
I do like the expansion.
The factions in the expansion are a little even more asymmetrical. They're a little more unusual than the factions in the base game.
You have to be ready to play very differently than you would with some of the base factions, though.
Yeah. The faction that is basically cat people, I'm not going to attempt to say their name because it's just a jumble of letters. But I really enjoyed those. They have all elite units. They have fewer units than others. And they've got something weird where they have to have their havens. They can't be adjacent to each other, and they only get 3. It's very few. But I just feel like I was doing better with those than other factions. But your mileage may vary. You might enjoy the turtle faction. I didn't. That was also an expansion one.
Yeah.
They're harder to move around, and I felt like they died really easy. But maybe that's just me.
Well, you could probably find one that fits your playing style better than others, for sure.
Yeah, and I did like just the change-up of having the Arch Nemesis come out instead of another wave of Legion and Horde.
Yeah.
It made it a little more interesting there at the end.
I agree with that. I enjoyed that it was something a little bit different. Like, the first 3 phases are all like these regular hordes and stuff, but then the Arch Nemesis comes out, and it's something different that you hadn't seen yet.
Yeah, and up to this point, you don't really have a whole lot of control about what legions and hordes come out, but with the Omen phase in the expansion, you do sort of have that slight bit where if you succeed at a roll, you can influence a little bit of the direction of which arch nemesis is going to come out. And I appreciate the agency that grants.
Yeah. So, Ryan, what was your favorite part of the game / what did you find most interesting?
I really liked the standees. I thought that was really nice. Just the quality of them and the compactness as well. It's like a nice middle ground between cardboard and your typical mini. I liked the feel of the game. I feel like I should be amazing at it, but I'm not. And I guess that's actually my least favorite part. Is like, what am I not getting about it? And just the fact that it can take a while to resolve dice rolls, because you're going to have to constantly examine, okay, what level are they at now? How many dice does that mean they get? How many dice am I rolling in return? Okay, that's changed. Let's see what it is now. So it's a little bit of a time sucker.
Yeah.
And it's just, I can't beat it. Now, what was your favorite and least favorite part? What stood out to you?
My least favorite part, I think, is I'm gonna say, I think it's the quests. The quests are a part of this that you can try to do with your hero. But for me, I don't feel like they affect the game as much as I want them to.
Yeah, I feel like we weren't getting that many good quests.
Yeah.
Some of them have some big effects, like totally preventing a horde from even activating. That's huge, because that's one less curse they're going to put out. So that's a lot fewer points they're going to have.
Yeah, they're going to accumulate.
And then sometimes you can even remove curses or get units out without paying for them. So they can have big effects. It's just, it's not consistent.
Yeah.
You can't rely on the quests.
Yeah, I feel like it's hard to complete quests. And then if you do, you may or may not get something good from it. So probably the quests are my least favorite part of the thing. I think as far as my favorite actual part of the game is, I like, oh man, I've probably got several favorite things, but I really like that it's a cooperative game, but I feel like it's really hard to try to micromanage other players. Like, to have an alpha gamer, just because there's so much to pay attention with your own people, like your own group. It's so hard to try to micromanage what's over there, and you can't. There's so many extra cards and feats and things like that you just can't keep up with what they could do on their turn.
Yeah, I feel like there should be just a little bit more interaction that you can help out your teammates, because it is true. If anybody is below the enemy's scores, you all lose. And the few things that you can do, if both your heroes are on the same space, you can trade some stuff. I don't feel like that's been super successful. If you're in the scoring phase, you can give up 5 resources to give somebody else a point. But resources are so hard to come by.
I feel like they are,
you aren't going to have that many. So, I mean, even if you give up 5, that's only 1 point. And typically they're down like 10 points.
He's not talking about anybody we know.
Oh, no.
When he says down 10 points.
Even when I played my solo game, the faction, I played 2 factions, and one of them was just way behind. I was like, how am I going to get this guy to catch up?
Yeah. So honestly, we thought that I was the real ball and chain when we were playing these games, because I was always 10 to 15, 20 points behind everybody else. So Ryan played the solo mode thinking maybe this is going to balance it out. But no, it's just really very difficult. And to answer the question from the beginning, what's keeping us discussing this game? It's the fact that we haven't won.
Exactly.
We continue to try to figure out, what if we focused more on getting rid of curses? What if we focused on getting more skeletons, get rid of them? What if we only, I only fight the horde and you only fight the chaos? So we're attempting, we're trying to think of all these ways that we can strategize to try to pull a win out of this game.
Yeah. So if you're watching this and you've won, let us know what
tell
did
us
it for
how
you
you're
in the
doing
comments.
it. Tell us how you're doing it, because we haven't figured it out yet. Although, truthfully, I think we're both gluttons for punishment, because that is something that makes us go back to a game, especially in a co-op game. I like to not win on the first game. Even winning on the not winning on the second game is reasonable, but we're starting to get to where we're like, is this game winnable? I'm sure it is. I'm sure there are people who have done it. So, like you said, tell us in the comments if you have won this game, and then tell us your secrets.
Yeah. So if this sounds interesting to you, definitely go check out Uprising, Curse of the Last Emperor, and its Arch Nemesis expansion. I think we both enjoyed it, but a little frustrated at times. So tell us what your feelings are on it, and be sure to stay tuned to our channel for more videos like this one.